husband.
Yeah, that always comes up in the financial aspect, and we won't really go there. You know, my words of warning would be proceed with caution with regard to bank accounts and whatnot. What I'm speaking more about is mementos, keepsakes, family heirlooms, things that probably don't. Some things may have a high dollar value. I'm not talking about let's take the plasma screen and hide it in my car. You know, I'm talking about things more or less that may not have any monetary value but have tons of sentimental value. Now, if there are things like some people take computers, some people take their work laptop because it gets taken, you know, those are things within reason, you know, and you can see why. I'm not saying all personal property items, and it doesn't only have to be limited to mementos and keepsakes and whatnot, but anything that's really important to you that's maybe one of a kind, you know, those are the things that your lawyer is not going to be able to guarantee that you will ever get back if they are in fact taken. So, and I think what Dan brought up about taking an inventory of your house as to what was taken and assessing the dollar value as to that, I think that's a great thing. If you have any kind of, and I realize after this happened, and if you're not expecting it, but if you have the ability to take any kind of home movie documenting what was in the house and what wasn't, and or pictures, something along those lines, you know, sometimes that can be beneficial. But again, sometimes you're putting the cart before the horse in that you're not expecting to be come home and oops, everything's gone.
Exactly. Now, the next question kind of piggybacks upon this one. Is from the same person presenting the first question. What about changing locks on the house? And I think you and I would both agree it depends upon how the house is actually titled.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, clients pose this question to me all the time, and it's very frustrating as an attorney because I want to be able to say, you know what, go ahead and change those locks. You're fine. But again, this is a question that does not have a good answer. There is no, at least in the state of Missouri, there is no rule of thumb. If your wife cleans out the house and moves out, do you get to change the locks automatically? If there was a law that said that, you know, it'd be great for me. I could advise the client with 100% certainty. You know, what I tell people, you know, in situations like this is proceed with caution. If she's left, you know, again, it depends on how your house is titled. But even that sometimes doesn't matter, because what's likely to happen is you change the locks, you spend the money. She may or may not come back. If she doesn't come back, you've done it. It's not a big deal. If she does come back and she calls the police, again, the police are not going to want to get involved per se, but if the house is titled in both names, they may say, this is both of your house, she's allowed to be in here. They may say, ma'am, you need to go file a restraining order, whether she has a cause of action or not, you need to go file a restraining order, and that may in fact get you kicked out of the house. Like I said, you could change the locks and she could be fine with it. There is no really right or wrong answer to this question, and I know it's completely frustrating. It kind of also depends on what police officer comes to your house. Some police officers are going to come to your house, and some are going to say, you know what, sir, it's fine. Some are going to say, where's the court order? I don't see any court order, therefore I can't enforce anything. Some are going to say, you know, she should be in the house and you shouldn't be in the house. So it just kind of all depends on your jurisdiction, your police, and kind of also the flavor of the case. If you are involved in a case, current litigation, this was my advice prior to this, was assuming you're not really involved in a case or you're maybe at the very beginning of it. If you are in fact involved with a case, then my best answer is have your attorney call the opposing counsel and say, here's what mom did or here's what dad did. They cleaned out the house. My client now, you know, we're figuring his wife or husband has abandoned the house. My client wants to change the locks. Are you okay with that? If opposing counsel says, yeah, absolutely, no big deal, you've got your answer right there. It's fine.
Now, for those of you who have just tuned in, DadsDivorce.com, or have been listening and wondering, well, I'm kind of the opposite of that. My wife has changed the locks and I want to get into the house. So I guess first order of business is there a court order preventing you? If not, then you move on to the second question. The locks are changed. How is the house titled? As Heather and I have been talking about at length here. If the house is titled in joint names, I mean, you have just as legal right to be there as she does, and the locks are changed. You can break out one of the windows and unlock the door. I mean, I've had some clients who've been fortunate put in that precarious situation, but if there's no court order preventing you from being in the house, and there's the titles in joint names, you know, that's one of the avenues that you can pursue. Now, to be less intrusive, you could, you know, try to resolve it civilly, maybe bring a third party with you, maybe bring a police officer with you, but if nothing's going to work and the fact that your name is on the title, you have every right to be there.
I've also had clients who have had the battle of the locksmiths, in that one person changes the locks, the other person hires a locksmith and changes the locks. then the party comes back and they change the locks. And, obviously everybody's spending a lot of time and money spinning wheels. If attorneys are involved, not that they have every answer, but potentially sometimes they are the best way to get the situation taken care of, although you may or may not like the answer. And again, it is your house, so.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I appreciate, Heather, you taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us on this episode of Ask a Lawyer on DadsDivorce.com. If you have any questions or follow-ups, again, that's DadsDivorce.com. Please sign on to the website, click on Ask a Lawyer, and submit your question. We'll try our best to answer any and all questions that are presented to us as we do our weekly shows. Again, that's DadsDivorce.com. Thank you.